Welcome to the Pineapple Pinup, the Hot Wife Life podcast. On today's podcast, we are going to talk about cuck cleanup. I know you guys have been anxiously awaiting this. I can't wait to share more with you. Right off the bat, I want to apologize for not being able to post last week. Life tends to happen sometimes, but all's well now. So today I want to talk about cuck cleanup. Cuck cleanup is one of those pieces of the fantasy that I really didn't understand if there was more under it than there actually is. So to define the term, cuck cleanup basically is when somebody gives you a cream pie or comes on your tits or something, and then your cuck cleans it up. With his mouth, most likely. I actually had an in-depth conversation with my husband because I was trying to understand the psychology behind it, the thought process of where he went with it. And our conversation was actually super interesting because he wasn't so much thinking that there was some sort of connection with the actual fluids. For him, it was more a celebration of the action that had taken place and preparing himself to go and reclaim. The sheer tabooness of the act, the dirty, dirty pleasure that comes from licking this substance that is so incredibly off limits. When you grow up cis male and all that other good stuff, there's sort of that fear of homosexuality, homophobia, that's sort of ingrained in the culture, especially the culture of my growing up years. I mean, I'm 49 years old now, and there were all sorts of comments, and you were always trying not to, and guys were, the worst thing you could call a guy was a girl, and you throw like a girl or whatever. And so that mentality that we're not allowed to be gay and be men, sort of really did like ensnare generations of men into thinking that certain acts would turn you gay. So as we are becoming more and more aware, more and more conscious of those around us and their journeys through life, there's less stigma. But for a man from the 80s who spent time on a playground, that is something that still resonates in his mind. So the sheer tabooness of the fact that you're not allowed to want that, you're not allowed to, and it, like the juxtaposition of fear, and makes it very, very dirty, very naughty, very taboo, very evocative. So that being said, cleanup, I'll tell you a couple of stories. I had a bowl for a while that we were both tested, and we made a pact that we would only go condom free with one another. And he would cream pie me from time to time. I've had other gentlemen that would come on my tits or come on my ass and just sort of leave a residue for my husband to clean up. And my husband really, really enjoys that aspect when we don't go to parties. When I do some sort of like one-on-one, whether I go and meet somebody or whether they come over and hang out, he really likes that kind of activity to sort of benchmark or put the halftime into the scenario where it delineates between his reclamation and this man who just left. Cleaning him up, taking him out of me, off of me is sort of, it begins the process of what he considers taking back what's his. Cleaning up the evidence, cleaning up the mess that was made so that he could. Now, what's really funny is a cut cleanup is also something like that's only one way of handling post play. My husband also really just loves to sink in to that mess, to that mixture. And he really does enjoy like the feeling of that fluid surrounding him. So that when he slides into that very swollen, wet flesh, he gets that sloppy slurp of a thing at that point. It is for him very exciting to have that as well. So it just depends on the scenario. It's not every time cut cleanup. It's not every time sloppy seconds. It's not every time anything. It is opportunities and experiences and recapturing feelings and reclaiming his claim on me, taking back his wife, it's all very part and parcel with the thrill of the dirtiness of the experience, the tabooness, the fantasy, the upping the game, taking it to the next steps. Now, I am very much somebody who is tuned into other people's emotions. I have always been that way. And when somebody is turned on by something, it makes it that much hotter for me. So when I sort of amp up my desire when that arousal is climbing for both parties. And that's why any part of this that makes the fantasy that much better, that much deeper, that much more entangling for my husband makes it so much better for me. I love it when he is animalistic and he goes down on my sloppy cunt and just licks every piece of it he can get to. And then he rises up and rams his cock so hard and so deep so that he knows, so that I know that he is taking me back. He is taking away the claim that other man had on me and restamping me married. I am still not 100% on cuck cleanup and why it drives men so crazy, because believe me when I tell you, it really, really does. Men talk about cream buys, and it's kind of disconnecting in my brain sometimes what they're getting from it. So when I had this conversation with my husband and I asked him flat out, "What is it that this is doing?" And he spoke to the taboo, spoke to the celebrations, spoke to all of these things. But I think there's more. I think there's more, and I think somebody out there might have the answer. So if you have the answer and you know what the more is, what the next phase of this discussion is, let me know. Hit me up, pineapplepinuppod@gmail.com. And I really, really want to know what y'all think. What is in what is in that cuck cleanup that is driving that passion so much higher and hotter? So I got a message from someone I've been who a listener, and I've been chatting with him, and he is in a relationship with a woman, and his best friend acts as their bull. And he is interested in expanding his wife's horizons. And his wife is satisfied with status quo. So the question becomes, what how do you as a couple find the next phase? If the kink is if the kink has reached its maximum, then that's understandable. But if you as a couple are trying to grow in the kink lifestyle, how do you as a couple make the next step more comfortable for everyone involved? Um, I actually had a recommendation for this because I think it's important to quell fears. You There is a certain amount of anxiety that's going to come with this, especially for women, because of our our innate way of talking to ourselves in such a horrible way that we believe some of the crap that's echoing between our ears. Like, nobody will be attracted to me, and nobody will it, I don't want to put myself out there because then I'll just be rejected, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm in competition with. All of that is the anxiety of being a woman. Um, all of that is very much part and parcel with the ovaries and the tits. It just comes with the territory. But I'm here to say, as a very large woman, well, this world is made up with all sorts of types of people, and all types of people, there's something out there for everybody. So, one of the things that I recommend if you are trying to find the next step and you're trying to quell some fears, attend non sexual Kinkster meetings. They're usually called munches. You can go there, you can meet people who are in the lifestyle, who understand the language, who are, very much looking for their own thing as well. But it gives you the opportunity to meet people without any of the expectation of something that you may not be ready for. Another recommendation I have is be a voyeur. Go watch the live sex show. And men, if you take your wife to one of these events, imagine You're sitting on the couch, you're watching these people fuck, and it is hot, and they are going to town. He is pounding the fuck out of that pussy, and you are sitting there with your wife, and you lean over and you whisper in her ear very gently, I wish that was you. I wish you were getting all that pleasure. I wish that cock was filling you up so good and so full. She's in the fantasy now, okay? Putting women at ease starts with the mind. If you if you coach her along and you explain to her what it's doing to you to think about her being in that position, she's going to want to give that to you. This is not a roadmap to pressuring anyone into anything because, again, consent is 100% the only way that this thing works. But you can explore things without the expectation, without the looming, it's got to happen, because it doesn't. You could be voyeurs for the rest of your life, and that may be just as exciting. But I can tell you that when you start peering into a woman's eyes, peering into her mind, seeing the way things work in there, it will give you so much access if you plant seeds and nurture them, because women are innately more cerebral than men, especially when it comes to sex. We're constantly thinking. We're constantly judging ourselves, judging what we're doing. And sometimes to snap women out of that, you have to bring her back into the moment and let her focus on something other than herself. Let her focus on you. Let her focus on what's turning you on. Let her focus on what she's doing that is amazing to you, or what you wish she would do. All of that brings a woman out of the chitter chatter in her brain and puts her in the room, in the moment, in the act with you. And I am speaking in huge generalities because I can really only speak to my own experiences, but that's what I find works best for me. If you talk me into a space, I will go there. And I gotta tell you, I love that. I love that. Now, your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other may very well be different than me. But the only thing I can tell you in that instance is communicate, find out what her hesitations are, and see if you can quell those fears. That's the most important part, is her participation is 100% garnered on how anxious she is with the process, with the idea, with the product. It's all there are fears in there. Then all you have to do is locate them and find a way to dismiss them. Find a way to get her past them. That is not to say that you should force her to do anything. Ask. Always ask. Anyway, that was just a little something that I had been mulling over. Okay, so I had another question from CC, and I'm not sure if I've covered this, but it bears covering again. So her question was, we have messaged a few people and asked questions about safety, and everyone's answer is condoms, which is the obvious answer. But what about other safety concerns like psychopaths, diseases transmitted by saliva? Um, so for that, safety is tough, okay? Safety, part of the allure of kink is that it does have that edge of danger. Not necessarily edge of danger like you could die, but edge of, even though there are some things, yes, you could, but edge of danger, like how taboo it is, how judged it is. So it's got that dark, seedy element to it already. So what I had said was safety is tough. It is a dangerous world out there, and how we face it is we tend to do public events like parties or meet and greets. The lessons, that lessens the worry about dangerous people. The diseases, condoms always. Use condoms, get tested regularly. I personally don't do kissing. Um, Kissing is for me too awkward. I don't know how, it's not that it's too intimate, it's just too awkward because it seems like I'm trying to be romantic in this time when I'm really just trying to fuck. So, as far as oral, I give oral a lot more than I receive it. But you can always tell people that's not on the table. It's all about consent. Whatever you're comfortable with, that's what you should do. If you're not comfortable with something, put the boundary out there. Say, this is my boundary. And nobody's going to cross that if you're clear. Nobody's going to demand to go down on you. Nobody's going to demand that you suck their dick. That is all the best parts of this community. It is the consensual nature, the agreement to the terms and conditions. We're going to have fun together. But in order for me to have fun, I need this boundary. I need to know that this is safe. Now, boundaries that I have, I don't like kissing, so I don't tend to engage. Um, I also won't do anal at a party. Um, I won't do anal unless it's dedicated time and place, that I know in advance, because I still I'm a woman, I still have hangups, and I still am not thrilled about the concept of shitting on someone's dick. That's not my thing. And so, because of the fact that I know how uncomfortable I would be, I don't do I don't engage in that in a public place, and I take a lot of precautions if I'm going to be if I've arranged that. So, for me, anal is a very specific, very well thought out, very talked about, never spur of the moment, because I don't care what you say, surprise anal is never fun. Um, but that's the thing that I want to reiterate. Set your boundaries, know your boundaries, and don't let people cross your boundaries. And if somebody tries to cross your boundaries, alert someone. Tell people that this is not what I want, and I made that clear, and I'd like whatever this is, and people will protect you. Well, that's because I play at parties, and parties are very um well monitored, I guess you'd say. There's a lot of people who are watching, there's a lot of people who are there as security. It usually tends to be one of the safest ways I know to interact in this world. Now, finding a way to do this where it's 100% safe, that's probably never going to happen. The thing is that we live in crazy times. There are diseases, there are people with bad intentions, there's all sorts of pitfalls. But sometimes when you're brave, you can step out of that security, that sense of control, and you can let yourself be swept along, taking as many precautions as you can, of course, because there's no need to set yourself up for more dangerous activity. Like it doesn't need to be any more dangerous than it is. So protect yourself, but also be brave, be bold. Know that there are risks out there. Try to mitigate them, but don't let fear of that loss of control, fear of that loss of safety cripple you. Be safe, set your boundaries, do what you can. And then if it's something that you feel the gains the gains are more than the losses, be brave, be bold, but be safe. Oxymorons, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Pineapple Pinup Hot Wife Life podcast. I am so grateful for you, and I really wish I want to hear from you. I really, really do. You can see me on my social. Right now, I have an Instagram, Pineapple Pinup Podcast, or I think it's at Pineapple Pinup Podcast. And then, of course, there's always my Gmail, pineapplepinuppod@gmail.com. And I also have a Snapchat, but I can't remember the actual name of it. So I'll bring that up next time. Anyway, if you're looking for a chance to connect on the socials, hit me up there.